Before we begin, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. If you love billionaire drama, hit like and subscribe. A slow dissolve from black to sparkling city lights, Dubai's skyline at midnight. A lone figure steps into frame. Evelyn Hart, trench coat collar turned up against a warm breeze that smells faintly of jasmine and sea salt. She glances at her phone, thumb hovering over the poker table livestream button. Evelyn's mind races. Could this really be my chance? Moments later, we hear the soft clink of high ball glasses and muffled laughter drifting through the walls of a private penthouse. Evelyn pauses at the heavy glass door, fingertip tracing the engraved Baccarat logo. What fools! Wealth and power swirling behind these walls, unaware that tonight, an interloper will turn their game upside down. Smash that like button if you think she'll bluff her way in. She straightens, inhales sharply, and slips inside. A cluster of suited men lean over green felt, whispering bets in $100,000 increments. Candlelight flickers off crystal chandeliers, casting diamond reflections on marble floors polished to a mirror sheen. Silence falls as Evelyn glides in, a silk scarf around her neck, eyes sharp as diamonds. The entire table swivels, curiosity, amusement, derision on each face. Evelyn doesn't flinch. Who is she? A hush. Then a voice like silk and steel. I don't recall sending an invitation. From behind the dealer's rail emerges Cassian Blackwood, the reigning poker champion, media darling, and billionaire heir. His gaze locks with Evelyn's. Something in that look, power, challenge, intrigue. He saunters forward, chips in hand, voice low enough only she can hear. Careful what you wager, miss. A breathless beat. The other players lean in. The opening gambit has been dealt. What will you do if you were Evelyn? Comment below. A sweeping aerial shot drifts over moonlit skyscrapers, descending to a private helipad perched atop the Blackwood Tower. Cassian's bespoke Sikorsky S-76S helicopter settles on the pad with a whispering hum. Inside, ivory leather seats cradle silent passengers. Starlight shimmers through panoramic windows like spilled diamonds. Below, the city pulses, neon arteries of ambition and desire. Here, at 60 floors high, power tastes like champagne and echoes off polished steel walls. A pair of tuxedoed security officers usher Evelyn across the helipad's glass railing. Her heels click on obsidian tile, echoing against the vast night sky. Beyond the transparent barrier, the Persian Gulf mirrors the stars, waves lapping a distant shore. A silver path of moonlight leads to a concealed entrance. Black granite doors veined in white. Evelyn's breath catches. Every element of this moment feels orchestrated, as if some unseen conductor waves a baton to herald her arrival. Inside, a grand foyer unfolds like a cathedral to opulence. Two sweeping staircases curve upward like ivory scrolls, flanked by columns of white marble. Crystal chandeliers, each the size of a small tree, drip light onto frescoed ceilings depicting mythic scenes of gods and mortals. The air is perfumed. Rare sandalwood and Himalayan jasmine, undercut by a hint of ozone from nearby storm clouds. Guests drift through in couture and cut-crisp tuxedos, champagne flutes fluttering against wrist diamonds. At the hallway's end, a pair of gilt doors stand ajar. Beyond, the gaming salon beckons. Soft, recessed sconces cast pools of warm light on walls clad in charcoal suede. A long bar of black onyx curves through the room, staffed by bartenders in slim-cut jackets. They mix cocktails named for legendary fortunes. Empress's Windfall, Titan's Ransom, Midnight Malice. The clink of crystal and low jazz piano mingle with murmured stakes. $500,000 on diamonds, 7-figure on hearts. Rows of gaming tables occupy the center stage. Each table's green baize seems impossibly vibrant under the glow of focused pendant lamps. Dealers in crisp vests move with choreographed precision, sliding chips and cards like dancers across polished wood. High rollers occupy the rings of velvet rope. Men in brogue shoes that cost more than a month's rent for many, women in gowns trailing behind them like silken tides. Their laughter is tinted with steel, a practiced murmur that masks greed and calculation. Evelyn navigates through this sea of wealth, her gown a deep sapphire that catches the chandelier light in scintillating waves. A diamond-encrusted clasp at her shoulder echoes the sparkle above. She passes intimate alcoves where flutists play Bach renditions, their bows soft against the strings. Velvet couches in forest green and burgundy invite whispered alliances. Blackwood's private art collection looms on the walls, contemporary sculptures of fractured metal beside Renaissance cherubs carved in ivory. At one alcove, a chill in the air marks a state-of-the-art climate control capsule. Inside, vintages of Bordeaux lie on black metal racks, bottles so old they flutter in dust like secrets. A sommelier, motionless as a sentinel, awaits patrons with an aerator and linen napkin. Nearby, crystal decanters curve like hourglasses, whiskey amber as sunset waits to be poured. Every taste here is curated for connoisseurs of power. Overhead, a mezzanine level curves around the main floor. Velvet ropes and glass balustrades guard VIP tables, where the ultra-elite wager in private. Rumor says Elon Stower of Starkridge Investments lost $10 million on a single hand of baccarat last month, prompting a hush and then a roar of whispered conjecture. A discreet sign, members only, code Blackwood, glows in subtle LED. Evelyn's pulse quickens. She passes beneath it, a phantom slipping into a world that neither beckoned nor warned. In the far corner, the piece de resistance, the high-stakes poker salon. A circular table coated in emerald felt seats exactly 12 players. Each seat is a throne, leather-backed chairs stitched with Cassian's family crest, a black crow in flight. Beneath each lamp, felt bear's gold inlay spelling the buy-in. Minimum 5 million USD. The dealer's podium is carved from a single slab of koa wood, its grains swirling like ocean currents. A quiet hum from embedded mics ensures no word escapes unrecorded. Above the table, a private jet-style skylight frames the sky. Tonight, low clouds drift across the moon, casting the room in shifting shadows. The overhead lights dim, leaving only the table's halo aglow. Silence descends like a velvet curtain. Each player sits in near-identical posture, elbows on table, eyes narrowing, hearts drumming. Glasses of amber liquid rest before them, Blanton's single-barrel bourbon, so exclusive that a single bottle can fetch more than a luxury car. Smoke drifts from a corner humidor, where cigars rest in humidity-controlled drawers. The scent of Havana leaves drifts through the air, a hush of expectation. A click, chips are pushed forward, coins clatter, and the dealer whispers, "Shuffle up and deal." Evelyn bookmarks this view with her eyes. The players, magnates, heirs, influencers, each blade-sharp in their hunger. A feng shui screen behind them shields off a terrace where a string quartet begins an aria. Instruments tuning, rosin on bows rasping softly. The music will swell as stakes rise. Beneath that terrace, fountains cascade over Belgian limestone, gardens invisible behind tinted glass. A hush before the first card is dealt. Cameras mounted discreetly at table edges broadcast to private suites across the globe. Anyone with the right code can tune in. Insiders in London, Singapore, Hong Kong, all bearing witness to fortunes born and destroyed in a single draw. A digital display ticks upward. Pot, $12,500,000. Eyes flick to it as though reading a pulse. The room leans forward collectively. Yet in this moment, the true star is Evelyn, an interloper whose presence flutters like a moth against an oil lamp. She stands just outside the velvet rope, heart pounding, every nerve alight. Security watches her, suspicion twitching at their temples. But as a distant piano note resolves, Evelyn steps forward, silk skirt whispering on marble, and the room collectively inhales. She pauses at Cassian's left, his territory, his heir's seat. Under the pendant light, his profile is chiseled, jaw set, eyes glittering with a dare. The air between them crackles, two magnets of ambition and will. She reaches out, lifting a chip, a single sapphire chip etched with bid. 5M, fingers brushing against cold ivory, she locks eyes with Cassian. The moment stretches implosive, pregnant with possibility. A soft murmur circles. Who is she? What's her buy-in? But Cassian says nothing. Instead, he inclines his head, a silent invitation or a challenge. The dealer pauses, shuffling cards in the background like a heartbeat. The quartet crescendos, time fractures. And in that heartbeat, she enters the game. What would you do if you found yourself at this table of titans? If you're loving this opulence, hit that like button and subscribe, then comment below. What's the most luxurious setting you've ever dreamed of crashing? Years before Evelyn Hart ever crossed that velvet rope, she belonged to a different world entirely. In a modest seaside town on the Cornish coast, whitewashed cottages clustered against gray cliffs, waves collapsing in thunderous applause below. Salt spray scented the air, and gulls wheeled like silent judges above slate rooftops. Here, Evelyn's life began not in marble and crystal, but amidst the roar of surf and the hiss of cast iron stoves. Her childhood home was a 2-story stone cottage, ivy crawling across the facade like tenacious hope. Inside, walls were crowded with framed photographs. Her mother's brilliant smile beneath a salt-battered fishing net, her father's strong hands mending lobster traps by lantern light. The hearth was their altar. Every evening, they gathered for stew, root vegetables from the garden, fish fresh from dawn's tide. Evelyn, at 6, perched on a high stool, wide-eyed as her father recounted tales of shipwrecks and lighthouse keepers. Her mother, Maeve, braided her hair with strands of lavender from the garden. Even then, Evelyn carried a spark in her gaze, a hunger for something beyond granite coves and silent moors. "One day," she whispered, finger tracing a world map on the living room wall, "I'll see all these places." Maeve kissed her forehead. "And you will, love. You'll carry your own light wherever you go." By 12, Evelyn's sanctuary was a crumbling boathouse at the beach's edge. Its warped boards groaned under her weight as she pressed her sketchbook to her lap. With charcoal pencils, she traced the silhouette of fishing boats, their hulls etched by salt and sun. These drawings weren't mere lines. They were Evelyn's first attempts at capturing beauty where few dared to look. She studied the way sunlight fractured on glass bottle shards in the sand, how barnacles clustered like living jewels on old pilings. Her parents worked long hours, her mother as a seamstress tailoring fishing jackets, her father hauling nets and traps in all weathers. Money was scarce, luxuries were a rarity. Evelyn learned to sew hems and patch tiers by age 9. She practiced small acts of ingenuity, turning driftwood into fishing lures, weaving seaweed strands into makeshift rope. Every evening, she catalogued her sketches, pressed them between the pages of thrift store books. At school, whispers followed her. "Hart's odd girl," they'd say. While classmates chatted about pop stars and sneakers, Evelyn carried a well-worn hardcover of sea captain diaries. She devoured accounts of exotic ports, of smuggling rings in Istanbul's bazaars, of spices that perfumed markets in Morocco. She soaked in language like water. French phrases rolled off her tongue. Spanish verbs danced in her notebook margins. Yet despite her brilliance, Evelyn felt the sting of poverty's edge. She wore hand-me-down sweaters, once yellow now faded to straw hue. At 14, she scraped pennies together to buy a pair of black flats for a school presentation. The shoes fit too small, toe tips pinching, but on stage she spoke of ocean currents with such fervor that teachers praised her worldly insight. Yet when the applause faded, she returned home to peeling paint and leaking gutters. Loneliness settled around her like fog. Why did the world belong to everyone but me? One stormy autumn evening, a letter arrived, cream parchment sealed with navy wax. It bore the emblem of the Cardiff Academy of the Arts, a griffin mid-leap. Inside, the headmaster praised her portfolio, offered a full scholarship. Evelyn read the words by candle light, heart pulsing like a hummingbird's wings. She had one passage to a world she'd only glimpsed in dusty textbooks. Her parents cried tears of salt and joy. Maeve pressed the letter to her chest, voice trembling. "My girl, you're going to paint the skies red in Paris." Over the next year, Evelyn's life changed in swift montage. She boarded a rattling coach to Cardiff, then a train that sliced through Welsh valleys. At the academy, hallways smelled of fresh paint and ambition. Sunlight filtered through stained glass windows depicting muses at easels. She learned classical techniques, mixing pigments, stretching canvases and modern ones, digital illustration, animation, installation art. Her classmates came from palatial homes and grand estates. They spoke of summer residencies in Tuscany, internships at the Louvre. Evelyn felt their polished confidence like a jolt, but humility, she believed, bred resourcefulness. When they purchased $200 tubes of chrome yellow, she improvised with earth pigments, blending ochre and sienna to mimic brilliance. By her second year, she'd exhibited at the student gallery. A visiting curator from London's Tate Modern paused at her piece, a large canvas depicting a lone lighthouse against thunderous skies. Its brushstrokes pulsed with raw energy. He offered her a solo show in Shoreditch. Evelyn, at 20, boarded her first flight, a battered propeller plane that rattled above the channel. London dazzled her, brick terraces, neon signs, the River Thames reflecting both history and hustle. She rented a tiny flat in Dalston, walls unpainted plaster, floorboards creaking. She slept on a futon, ate noodles from late-night markets, sketched commuters on the overground. Every street corner felt ripe with stories begging to be told. Her Shoreditch show sold out within hours. Critics praised her visionary command of light and shadow, comparing her to Turner and Hockney. Offers poured in. Gallery representation in New York, Paris, Hong Kong. Yet Evelyn remembered the smell of fish stew and the grit of boathouse floors. Success, she discovered, felt both exhilarating and frightening, like standing at the edge of a diving board, heart hammering. With her first paychecks, she repaid her parents' debts. She bought a better cooker for their cottage, rehung curtains, sealed the roof against winter storms. She sent Maeve silk scarves from Lyon, and her father a sturdy Leica camera to capture seascapes. In Christmas letters, her mother wrote of the cottage's warmth and the bright bloom in Evelyn's eyes. Amid galleries and glittering receptions, Evelyn's heart ached with homesickness. In penthouse lounges, she scribbled notes about pirates and mermaids. She sketched the face of a man she imagined, sharp jaw, storm-gray eyes that flickered with challenge. That sketch would later resemble Cassian Blackwood, though she didn't know it yet. Despite acclaim, Evelyn felt haunted by a question. Would she betray her humble roots in pursuit of greatness? Her days in London were a blur of private jets and champagne toasts. She painted dreamscapes, floating islands, oceans spilling into the sky. Critics called her an alchemist of color. But each night, she escaped to a narrow studio window, gazing at the city's glow, longing for wind-tossed waves and salt on her tongue. Then came a moment that reshaped her path. At a gala for emerging artists held aboard a docked yacht, Evelyn overheard whispers. "She's talented, yes, but she lacks pedigree." A snobbish curator, voice clipped like ice, dismissed her as the seaside girl playing at art. Evelyn forced a polite smile, yet her chest tightened. Her roots, once a source of pride, were now used to diminish her. Back in her flat, she stared at the walls, empty except for one small crib sketch, the makeshift poker chip she'd drawn on the back of a boarding pass. It was playful, a symbol of her gamble on ambition. That night, she vowed, "I won't be underestimated again." And so Evelyn reinvented herself. She adopted a refined accent, soft vowels smoothed like polished stones. She learned etiquette, which forks to use, how to hold a champagne flute without smudging the rim. Yet she retained her authenticity, the spark that shone through her ivory-gloved hands when she painted. She never forgot the boathouse's creaking floor or her mother's lavender braid. By 27, Evelyn Hart had become an international sensation, her studio in Mayfair, her works fetching six-figure sums. Yet beneath silk gowns and gallery acclaim, uncertainty lurked. She wondered if her successes were hers alone, or merely the product of polished reinvention. Was she living her life, or performing it for an audience that would vanish at the stroke of midnight? A letter arrived one spring afternoon, hand-folded parchment again. This time, it bore a crest she recognized only from whispered rumors, the Blackwood crow in flight. It invited her to an exclusive high-stakes poker game in Dubai, promising a challenge worthy of your craft. No details of stakes or stakes riders, just intrigue. Evelyn traced the crest, fingertips trembling. In that moment, the boathouse and Mayfair studio converged. The seaside girl and the polished artist collided. She felt the familiar quicksilver thrill, a new horizon beckoned. "Do I dare play this hand?" her heart answered. Yes. She packed a single duffel, paints laid aside, for a journey that would test every stroke of her identity. What would you gamble on if your entire world was a single hand? Comment below. And if Evelyn's voyage from Cornwall to Couture stirred your soul, smash that like button and subscribe for more twists. Evelyn Hart's pulse thundered in her ears. Beyond the velvet rope, titans of industry hunched over the circular poker table, eyes narrowed, hands dancing over chips. Her sapphire gown caught the soft halo light. Every step cracked with risk. This was no gallery opening, no awards ceremony. This was a gauntlet where fortunes, perhaps lives, were wagered at the turn of a card. She paused at Cassian Blackwood's left, inhaled jasmine-scented air, and extended a hand holding exactly one chip. The sapphire-hued $5 million USD bid. A bead of sweat slipped from her temple. "This must be a joke," one tycoon at the far end murmured under his breath. "A publicity stunt," whispered another. Cassian's storm-gray eyes flicked to her hand. His expression was unreadable, part amusement, part curiosity, part warning. Lights above hummed, the quartet hushed into silence. The dealer with half bow accepted her chip. It clacked onto the emerald felt like a thunderclap. "She's playing," Cassian said, voice a velvet undertone. "We'll see how long she lasts." The dealer's fingers fanned the deck and slid the first cards to each of the 12 players. Evelyn's breath caught. She peeked at her own 2 cards under the curve of her fingers. Ace of Hearts, King of Spades. A strong starting hand, but strength here was only the beginning. Her eyes flicked to Cassian, who held Queen of Diamonds. 10 of Clubs, a respectable hand, but nothing extraordinary. His gaze never wavered from the table. He'd already lost a fortune tonight correcting another player's over ambitious bluff. Evelyn's mind raced back to Cornwall. The boathouse, the smell of plank-stained salt, her father's voice urging caution when tides went out too far. But here, there was no tide line to gauge. The depths below were infinite. She tapped the felt twice call. Her voice felt strange in her throat, low and steady. Murmurs rippled, some scoffed, others leaned in, computing her stake. The pot glowed in the center, $15 million. Next card, the flop. The dealer burned one, then laid 3 cards in a row, 7 of Clubs, King of Hearts, 3 of Spades. Evelyn's king paired with the board, top pair. Confidence bloomed like a rose in winter. Around the table, eyes darted. Some checked, some bet. A billionaire fashion magnate pushed out $7 million. Cassian called. Evelyn swallowed, and heart in her throat, raised, pushed forward $10 million in chips. Gasps in the room. The magenta-haired heiress to a tech empire hesitated, then called. The fashion magnate's lip curled. He tossed in more chips. Cassian leaned back, arms crossed, watching. The pot swelled to $45 million. "She's a shark," hissed the magnate's companion. "Or a fool," whispered his rival. The turn card slid. Ace of Clubs, Evelyn's second ace, giving her 2 pair, aces and kings. A gasp euphoria seized her. She could taste victory. The crisp citrus of champagne, the surge of adrenaline. Yet Cassian's eyes narrowed. He, too, drew something significant, 10 of Hearts on the turn, pairing his 10. Now he had 2 pair, 10s and queens. Evelyn bit her lip. Her lead felt tenuous. If another king hit, she'd be unbeatable. But if a queen or 10 appeared on the river, Cassian could overtake her. She pondered the odds, recalling nights hunched over probability charts in her Dalston flat. How an ace on the river comes roughly 4.3% of the time, a queen about 8.5%, a 10 8.5%, and a king 7.8%. Statistical comfort was one thing, facing a billionaire panther in the flesh was another. Her training as an artist kicked in. She observed light and shadow, the tiniest twitch in Cassian's jaw, the way his right hand drummed the table. His breathing was calm, controlled, bewildering. The fashion magnate shoved another $20 million. Cassian called without flinching. All eyes turned to Evelyn. The pot, $85 million, more than twice her life's savings. "Are you in or out?" A reporter's voice crackled through hidden mics. The world watched. Evelyn drew in a measured breath. She'd come this far. She had to play. With a quiet click, she slid forward her last stack all in. Silence clamped the room. The quartet's strings quivered as though bracing for impact. Even the chandeliers seemed to hold their breath. Cassian leaned forward, gray eyes razor-sharp. He surveyed her with almost respect. Then in a single motion, he called, pushing in his remaining chips. Chips rattled. Hearts raced. The river card hovered in the dealer's fingers. A collective inhale filled the space. Evelyn's mind flashed to her mother's braid of lavender, the refrain that, wherever she went, she carried her light. Now her light balanced on this card. The dealer burned the top of the deck and slid the final card onto the green felt, Queen of Clubs. A queen, Cassian's queen, completing his straight. 10 Jack Queen, King Ace, sequence of power. Evelyn's 2 pair was eclipsed. The room exhaled as Cassian's corner of the table erupted in muted celebration. Her stomach dropped like ocean depths pulled under a storm. Her chips, her bid, her courage were swept away. The sapphire bid chip sat alone, a single token among a sea of ivory. Cassian leaned close, voice soft enough only she could hear. Bold move, artist, but passion alone doesn't win this game. Her cheeks burned, humiliation and awe in equal measure. Around her, stuffed shoulders and cuffs straightened. The fashion magnate chuckled, scooping his own stack back toward his corner. Evelyn's heart hammered, yet beneath that hammer something else fluttered, a spark of exhilaration. She had dared. And here he was, Cassian Blackwood, recognizing not only her defeat but her fearlessness. What now? She thought. Do I slink away, tail between legs? Yet as she rose from the table, Cassian's gaze followed her. He stood, smoothing the cuff of his bespoke jacket. The table's glow washed over him, turning his silhouette into a living sculpture. Footsteps echoed in the hush. Security closed in, but Cassian raised a slender hand, dismissing them. He motioned Evelyn aside, drawing her not toward the exit, but to a shadowed alcove behind the velvet drapes. Music drifted from the terrace beyond, distant laughter, clinking glasses. Evelyn's chest tightened, fear mingled with anticipation. You played well, Cassian said, voice a low echo. Most would never risk so much on a single hand. His admiring tone was laced with challenge. Are you ready for the real game, Miss Hart? Her breath caught. The air between them flickered. Curiosity, respect, danger. Outside, the gallery of titans resumed their wagers, ignoring the woman who had dared them all. But here, in this alcove, a new contest began, one without cards or chips. What would you do if the very man who just defeated you now offered a fresh gamble? Comment your take, and if Evelyn's daring bluff thrilled you, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for Scene 4's fallout. Evelyn Hart emerges from the velvet-draped alcove, the swirl of opulent guests brushing past her like a gilded tide. Each step feels heavy, her mind a tortured gallery of regret and exhilaration. Around her, the gaming salon hums anew. Chips clatter, laughter ripples, a dealer's call of raise or fold. Drifts like a memory she can't quite grasp. She finds a secluded banquette behind a row of onyx pillars. Ivory cushions cradle her trembling frame. The cushion's fabric feels foreign beneath her fingertips, an exquisite touch that sharpens her awareness of stark contrast to the rough-hewn boathouse planks of her youth. Evelyn presses her palms to her eyes, willing the flush of shame to ebb. What happened? Her thoughts spin. She replayed the river card, the Queen of Clubs, as a slow-motion fracture in time. On her left, Cassian's silhouette through the curtain caught her off guard, strength tempered by genuine admiration. Yet admiration could sting as sharply as scorn. A soft sigh. Her shoulders slump, a rare crack in her sculpted poise. Memories rise. Her mother's tear-streaked face when Evelyn boarded that propeller plane, her father's calloused hand patting hers, urging courage. They never warned her that courage could feel like ripping out your own heart. Am I a fraud? A reckless gambler. She lifts her gaze to the balcony where a quartet's distant strains mingle with night air. Somewhere beyond, the Persian Gulf breathes under moonlight. Here, Evelyn tastes salt without sea breeze, a different brine, humiliation. A familiar warmth softens her chest. Through the cluster of marble columns, her best friend Marisol Vega emerges. Designer, confidant, living contrast of color against the salon's monochrome palette. Marisol's gown is fire engine red. Evelyn's sapphire seems to glow in its wake. Marisol settles beside her, patting the spot on the cushion. I saw the finale, she murmurs, voice low. I've never seen stakes like that. Even Cassian looked impressed. Her dark curls brush Evelyn's shoulder. She offers a slender flask of champagne. Evelyn presses her lips to it, the cool sweetness tugging her back from a spiral of self-doubt. She exhales. "I lost," she whispers, and in front of everyone. Her words tremble between them. Marisol's eyes shine with fierce loyalty. "You didn't lose yourself, Evelyn, you showed guts. How many artists would risk everything on one hand? You painted on a canvas where no brush dared tread." A soft laugh escapes Evelyn, bitter bright. "This isn't art, Marisol. This is cruelty. And here's proof that vanity and valor can coexist in the same heartbeat." Marisol studies her friend. High cheekbones stained with pink flush, mascara smudged by unshed tears. "Come back with me," she says. "To my suite, no glitter, no judges, just us." She touches Evelyn's wrist. "Let me remind you who you are." Evelyn's chest lightens. Marisol's presence is like warm sunlight dissolving frost. She nods, grateful. Together they rise, slipping through satin rope corridors while curious glances drift after them. A hush of plush carpet replaces marble's echo. The door swings open to reveal walls draped in cream velvet, low lights glowing like candle flames. A chaise long upholstered in pastel rose beckons. A crystal decanter filled with rosé sits on a lacquered silver tray next to a bowl of fresh strawberries, red jewels against white porcelain. Marisol locks the door behind them. She flicks a switch, the lights dim to soft amber. "Tonight," she says, "we purge the poker ghosts. No conversation about stakes beyond win and lose. We drink, we laugh, we remember that you are more than your bravado." Evelyn sinks onto the chaise. She closes her eyes as Marisol pours 2 glasses of rosé, bubbles rising in delicate spirals. She hands one to Evelyn. "To the girl who painted lighthouses and conquered Shoreditch." Evelyn clinks glasses. "To the friend who designs dreams in taffeta and silk." They sip. Silence settles, warm and comfortable. Evelyn breathes deep, tasting freedom in each sip. Sometimes solace blooms in unexpected alcoves. Marisol perches on the armrest. "Tell me," she prompts, voice gentle, "why did you really come here?" Evelyn's gaze drifts to the city lights beyond the window, a tapestry of ambition swirling beneath a velvet sky. Evelyn exhales. "I wanted to prove I belonged." She pauses. "In art, I answered critics with strokes and pigments, but this—" She glances at the poker chip she slipped into her clutch. This felt like the purest test of nerve. Her hand closes around the chip's edge. "I thought if I could stay in the game long enough, earn their awe, then no one could say I didn't deserve my place." Marisol studies the chip. "And now?" The question hangs between them. Does courage validate the soul or betray it? Evelyn's fingers tighten. "Now I'm not so sure I wanted their awe, I wanted his." Her voice catches. Marisol's brow arches. "Cassian Blackwood." Evelyn meets her friend's knowing smile. "When he called my all in, when his gaze, it wasn't pity, it was respect." She turns the chip in her palm. "If I want to step onto the same stage as him, I'll need more than audacity. I need insight." Marisol's lips curl. "Insight like learning to read a person's tells, or reading their soul." She leans closer. "Because I've seen the way he moves, a coiled panther hiding both power and pain." Evelyn's brow furrows. "I've read about the Blackwood family, how his mother exiled him from the private board's meetings, how his sister vanished from public life. There's more shadow than silk in his past." She exhales. "I need to learn his story, if I'm to stand beside him, at least for a moment." Does she seek knowledge for survival or companionship? Marisol grins, tapping the glass. "Then let's toast to secrets revealed." She downs her rosé and reaches into a velvet pouch at her side, pulling out a slender gold-rimmed envelope. "This arrived for you 30 minutes ago." Her voice lowers. It's unmarked, no crest. Inside it says, "Meet me at the Dubai Opera balcony, midnight." Evelyn's pulse flares. "The opera balcony," she rises, brushing hair from her face. "That's where Blackwood holds after-party clandestine sessions, a place he trusts only the closest." Marisol nods. "Or someone bold enough to play in his world." She hands Evelyn a slender calligraphed card. "RSVP 1. Evelyn Hart." Evelyn clutches it, a slender lifeline back to the table or a rope to a deeper pit. Her mind flashes to Cassian's voice. "Are you ready for the real game?" Is this an invitation or a trap? Evelyn squares her shoulders. "Then I'll meet whoever sent this." She tucks the card into her gown's hidden pocket. No more hiding in corners. Marisol stands, smoothing Evelyn's skirt. That's my friend always charging forward. She presses a kiss to Evelyn's temple. Just promise me one thing. Evelyn looks up. Marisol's eyes glisten with sisterly concern. What's the one promise we ask of the daring? Don't lose yourself again. Evelyn exhales, nods. I promise. Marisol slips back into the shadows as Evelyn strides toward the suite's window. She gazes at the glittering skyline, a mixture of purpose and apprehension in her eyes. Inner monologue, Evelyn stands on the precipice of two worlds. One is safety, the familiar embrace of friendship and the studio's quiet light. The other is danger, midnight rendezvous, unspoken bets, the magnetic pull of Cassian Blackwood. Which hand will she choose? She checks her reflection in the glass, eyes bright, lips set. The city's lights glitter beneath her, each one a promise or a warning. Evelyn inhales, letting determination fill her lungs. I came here to play. Now I'll learn the rules. What would you do if an anonymous invitation lured you into the Billionaire's secret after-party? Comment below. I want to hear your boldest moves. And if Evelyn's fierce heart inspires you, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for Scene 5's big reveal. Midnight at the Dubai Opera balcony. Silk drapes billow around gilded columns, the Gulf's lights twinkling below like scattered gems. Evelyn steps onto marble, heart sinking with distant waves. The air is warm, scented faintly with oud and night-blooming jasmine. Footsteps echo behind her. She turns, Cassian Blackwood emerges from shadow, tuxedo tailored to perfection, hair swept back to reveal eyes that flicker between challenge and something softer. In his hand, he holds a single white rose. I wondered if you'd come, he says, voice a smooth tide. Evelyn's pulse quickens. I got your invitation. She holds up the calligraphed card. But I didn't know who me was. Cassian steps closer. Moonlight glints off the rose's petals. You nearly stole my table, Miss Hart. I wanted a rematch off the felt. You intrigued me. Her breath hitches. A game, he smiles, tilting the rose toward her. A contest of wits. He gestures to an ornate marble bench overlooking the water. They sit side by side, distance measured in inches. The rose rests between them, a silent wager. Here, no chips to count. Cassian's gaze drifts to the skyline. I've watched you paint worlds in galleries. Now I want to know the artist behind the work. Tell me, why risk everything for a single hand? Evelyn inhales, recalling the boathouse, the academy, the spin of the flop. She meets his eyes. I came to prove I belonged, to you and to this world. Cassian's jaw flexes. Belonging is earned, not given. You showed courage, but did you show truth? Her heart tightens. I showed what I could risk, but not who I am. He lifts the rose, brushing a petal against her cheek. Then let us make a new wager. Evelyn's brow arches. What are the stakes? Cassian's voice lowers. One secret each. I reveal mine, then you reveal yours. A hush of wind carries distant waves, witnesses to their silent accord. Evelyn's mind races. His secrets, her secrets, could trust bloom from such a gamble. She uncurls her fingers from the rose's stem. Deal. Cassian inhales and leans forward, voice almost a whisper. My mother tried to erase me from the Blackwood legacy. I survived by mastering games of chance and strategy. But I never learned how to trust. His confession hangs between them, vulnerable as the rose's soft petals. Evelyn's chest loosens. His steel heart shows a crack. Does compassion count as courage? She draws in a steady breath, finger tracing the rose's thorned stem. It's her turn. What secret would you share on the line between trust and risk? Comment below, and if this twist enthralls you, hit like and subscribe for Scene 6's Family Power Play. Morning light slants through floor-to-ceiling windows in the Blackwood penthouse library. Velvet drapes pool at Evelyn's feet as she stands before a wall of family portraits, each gaze more severe than the last. The Blackwood crest looms above. A crow mid-flight, wings outstretched like judgment. Footsteps click on marble. Cassian's mother, Valentina Blackwood, enters, her Dior suit crisp as steel, expression colder than the Gulf breeze outside. Her silver hair is pulled into an immovable chignon. She regards Evelyn as though she's an interesting curiosity rather than a daughter-in-law potential. So, Valentina's voice rings. You claim to be an equal in my son's world. Evelyn's heart hammers, but she meets the matriarch's gaze. I only seek honesty, Mrs. Blackwood. Valentina's lips curl. Reporters' cameras hidden behind lush ferns click like menacing metronomes. They've been tipped off, a coup de grace to destabilize the outsider. Why does power so often wear a smile like a blade? Cassian steps between them, tone firm. Mother, Evelyn's my guest. Valentina fixes him with a look that could frost roses. Guest, she repeats. Guests leave when the game ends. A hush falls. Evelyn's pulse soars, her shoulders stiffen with defiance. But before she can speak, the library door swings open. Gideon Blackwood, Cassian's older half-brother, strides in. His tailored tuxedo vest over a white shirt is askew, as though he arrived mid-turf war. His lip bears a faint scar, trophy from a childhood rivalry. Mother, Gideon intones, voice low and conspiratorial, we have a problem. Valentina's eyes narrow. Out with it. Gideon glances at Evelyn, then back at Valentina. The board's discussing tonight's livestream leak. They suspect. He pauses, as if weighing every word. Evelyn leans forward, breath catching. Is this a chance to prove her loyalty or a trap to expose her every secret? Gideon exhales. They suspect you. Valentina's hand twitches, an icy verdict forming. Cassian's jaw clenches. Evelyn's world tilts. What would you do if the very family you hope to join turned their suspicion on you? That evening, Cassian escorts Evelyn to a hidden art-filled study tucked behind the library. The room glows in amber lamplight. Oil paintings of stormy seas, sculpted driftwood mobiles, and a single easel bearing an unfinished portrait. Her portrait, sketched in charcoal. Cassian pours 2 cups of jasmine tea from a porcelain set. Steam curls like whispered promises. He offers 1 cup, eyes gentle. Evelyn accepts, fingertips brushing porcelain. The warmth seeps into her skin. Here, no bets, only bridges. They settle on a velvet chaise. Cassian speaks softly. My family sees power as legacy. You see beauty as rebellion. He gestures to her sketch on the easel. I want to know how you captured my likeness with such honesty. Evelyn smiles faintly, tracing the charcoal lines with her finger. I studied how you move, calm under fire, storm beneath stillness. And then I imagine the man behind the mask. Cassian leans in, voice low. Show me more of your world. He waves a hand, and a hidden cabinet slides open to reveal hundreds of her small paintings, seascapes, lighthouses, boathouse sketches. Each one brims with memory. She steps forward, picking up a tiny canvas of a moonlit dock. This was Dorland's Cove, where I first dared to dream. Her voice softens. Every piece is a fragment of me. He studies the painting, eyes reflective. The light here, it's hopeful, even in darkness. A shared understanding blooms. He reaches out, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face. His thumb hovers at her cheek, tenderness in the gesture. Evelyn's breath catches. Outside, a discreet knock Marisol delivers a portfolio of press clippings. Leak scandal intensifies. Evelyn's stomach twists, but Cassian closes the files with a deliberate motion. In this sanctuary, outside friction dissolves. He pours fresh tea. Tonight, forget the Blackwood storm. Teach me about your art. Evelyn retrieves her sketchbook from her clutch. She flips pages. Charcoal nudes, acrylic abstracts, digital renderings of cityscapes. With each revelation, Cassian's fascination deepens, not just for her talent, but for her soul. She pauses at a blank page labeled Future, the promise of unwritten chapters. Cassian's gaze drops to the blank page. Then let me be part of it. Her heart thunders. Part of the next sketch? He nods, lifting her hand to press it onto the page, leaving a faint palm print in charcoal dust. Our first collaboration. 2 worlds merging in a single impression. They sit in companionable silence, tea gone cold but minds alight. The Blackwood crest beyond the door feels miles away. Here, intimacy builds in whispered confessions and gentle touch, love in the quiet spaces between. What small gesture would you use to connect with someone powerful yet distant? Comment below. Let's share our slow burn moments. If Evelyn and Cassian's spark warmed you, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for Scene 8's explosive return. 2 nights later, Evelyn stands in the octagonal glass atrium of a Dubai charity gala, modern architecture wedged between palms and fountains. Guests in couture drift past floral installations. Crystal spheres float above reflecting pools. Evelyn, in a sleek emerald sheath, checks her phone. Cassian's name lights the screen. She silences it. Some calls demand courage, not convenience. Across the atrium, laughter lilts, familiar, taunting. Marco Alvarez, her ex-boyfriend from London's gallery circles, steps into the lantern glow. His tailored tuxedo fits like a second skin. His smile is all predatory charm. "Well, well, if it isn't Miss Hart," he purrs, voice smooth as rum. Evelyn's heart twists. Marco's reputation, flaky as rose petal promises, ruthless in business, haunted her Shoreditch days. He tilts his head, studying her. "I heard you crashed Blackwood's game. Risky move." She meets his gaze, cool as a winter sea. "I prefer creating risk to predicting it." Marco's brow arches. "Still painting your way out of trouble." He glides closer, cologne sharp with vetiver. "I have a proposition. Back in London, the festival needs a star artist. They'd pay handsomely, cover your losses." Evelyn's chest pounds. The money could erase her debt, her bruised ego, but the offer reeks of his old manipulations. Favors traded for favors. Do you chase security or independence? Before she answers, a ripple of recognition crosses Marco's face. He glances behind her. Evelyn spins. Cassian stands at the atrium entrance, eyes cool steel. A ripple of electricity snaps in the air. Marco's smile falters. "Blackwood," he snarls under his breath. Cassian's gaze settles on Evelyn. No judgment, only question. Evelyn's pulse jumps. She turns back to Marco. "No, thank you." A rejection sharper than any brushstroke. Marco sneers, retreating beneath white orchids. "You'll regret this, Hart." His words vanish in the gala's shimmer. Evelyn exhales, shoulders easing. Cassian approaches, extending a single white rose, signature of his trust. "You handled him well," he says, voice steady. She accepts the rose, its petals soft against her fingers. "Some ghosts require firm boundaries." Cassian nods, offering his arm. Together, they walk through mirrored corridors toward the rooftop lounge, each step shedding the weight of past entanglements. Can a new alliance eclipse old betrayals? A flood of reporters, microphones raised, fills the glass-walled press room at Burj Khalifa's base. The leak scandal has exploded. Tabloids claiming Evelyn Hart manipulated the live stream to humiliate Blackwood. Cassian stands behind a podium, tucks jacket unbuttoned, jaw set. Evelyn hovers to his right, emerald gown gleaming. "Mr. Blackwood, did Miss Hart sabotage your event?" A sea of lenses captures her steadying breath. Cassian meets the first question with measured calm. "The accusations are false. Miss Hart is no saboteur," whispers Ripple. A hostile reporter presses on. "Yet footage shows her touching console controls." Cassian raises a hand, silencing the room. "Evelyn's gesture was to offer assistance when a technical glitch threatened our broadcast. She risked much to help." He glances at Evelyn, whose throat tightens. She steps forward, voice clear. "I saw the feed drop. I accessed the panel to restore it, no ill intent. I risked my reputation for the truth." A stunned hush. Cameras swivel. Reporters scribble. Gideon Blackwood, lurking at the back, narrows his eyes. Valentina watches, arms folded. Evelyn's confession plants doubt. Is truth stronger than rumor? A final question. "Why should the world believe you over the evidence?" Cassian steps aside, allowing Evelyn center stage. She inhales, recalling Marisol's faith, her childhood vow to stand tall. "Because I choose transparency over triumph. I came here to play a game of skill, not deceit." Her voice echoes. The room leans in. Reporters lower mics. Cassian returns to the podium, offering a single nod. "Thank you, Evelyn." A ripple of applause, cautious but genuine. Gideon's lips twitch. Valentina's stern mask cracks. Evelyn exhales. In a single moment, she's flipped the narrative. Could honesty be her greatest gamble yet? What would you risk to set the record straight? Comment below. And if Evelyn's courage moved you, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for Scene 10's emotional catharsis. That evening, beneath a sky awash in twilight lavender, Cassian leads Evelyn onto a secluded rooftop terrace. Lattice lanterns drift in the breeze. petals from floating orchids strewn across a marble table. Soft murmurs of the city below rise like an ocean tide. Cassian pauses before her, removing a slender velvet box. His fingers tremble, rare for a man so accustomed to control. Evelyn's breath catches as he opens it, revealing a delicate ring. A simple platinum band set with a single, luminous sapphire. "Evelyn Hart," he says, voice thick with something between awe and vulnerability. "You gambled on truth, on courage on us. Marry me." Tears gloss Evelyn's eyes, their sheen catching lantern light like twin stars. Memories cascade. The boathouse's creak, her first gallery show, the poker table's green felt. Every triumph and heartbreak led here. Her voice wavers. "Yes." He slips the ring onto her finger. It fits as though forged for her alone. Around them, lanterns sway, petals drift as silent witnesses to their vow. Cassian brushes a tear from her cheek, his own tears glimmering. A duel of defenses laid to rest. He draws her close, pressing lips to her brow in a benediction. Evelyn's arms circle him, warmth blooming through her chest. Behind them, the city lights cheer in electric gleam. A solitary violinist begins an aria, each note a benediction. This ring does more than bind two hearts, it seals their shared courage. Cassian pulls back, hands resting on her shoulders. "Together," he vows, "we build new legacies, ones of honesty and hope." Evelyn smiles through tears, voice steady. "Together." Above, fireworks bloom, silent blossoms of color against the night. The city below pauses in wonder as petals of light fall around them. What would you vow in the face of a lifetime gamble? Comment below, and if Evelyn and Cassian's union moved you, hit like, subscribe, and prepare for Scene 11's new beginning. Weeks later, Evelyn unveils her passion project, the Lighthouse Collective, an art workshop and gallery in Cornwall that empowers underprivileged youth. The refurbished boathouse stands proud, whitewashed walls bright as hope, windows open to C-suite air. Inside, canvases line the walls. Brushes rest in jars of colored water. A ribbon of blue silk stretches across the entrance. Evelyn, in jeans and a paint-splattered smock, holds giant scissors. Cassian stands beside her in a light linen suit, hands folded and proud. Local children, eager faces and paint-streaked cheeks surround them. "To new horizons," Cassian toasts with freshly squeezed lemonade. Evelyn cuts the ribbon. Applause rises like gull cries at dawn. Cameras capture every instant, but this time it feels genuine, free of glare and guile. Inside, a mural blooms, a lighthouse splitting stormy skies, its beams steady. At its base, two figures stand hand in hand, one in a sapphire gown, the other in crisp linen, shadows behind them receding. Evelyn guides a boy's hand in mixing cobalt blue. She smiles at Cassian, who watches from the doorway, pride shining in his storm-gray eyes. From solo gambles to shared canvases. Later, as volunteers assemble easels and organize donated paints, Evelyn slips Cassian a private note. "Thank you for believing in me. Every brushstroke led here." He kisses her temple. "And thank you for believing in us." What dream project would you start if someone powerful had your back? Share below, and if the Lighthouse Collective inspired you, like, subscribe, and ring the bell for our next Billionaire Love Odyssey. Our story of Evelyn Hart and Cassian Blackwood reaches its harbor, for now. From a modest cottage by storm-tossed seas to a glittering poker table, and back to a community's hearth, their journey proves that courage, truth, and love can rewrite any legacy. Thank you for joining this emotional roller coaster. Which moment gripped you most? Evelyn's daring bluff, the midnight wager, or the rooftop vow? Let me know in the comments. If you loved this tale of billionaire love friction, please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you never miss our next story, where stakes are high, hearts are on the line, and every twist leaves you breathless. Until next time, keep dreaming boldly. Your next great gamble could be just a heartbeat away.